Cheers, everybody. We are back for another edition of Bourbon on a Budget. Brendan just did something weird for you guys listening and not being able to watch, but if you guys watched on YouTube, you would have seen it. We're down a guy this week. We have been on the physically unable to perform list.
Not the first time.
Not the first time he's been on that list.
He's not here to defend
we'll
himself.
edit that joke out if something really tragic happens. But
he dies.
Ben has. I don't want to say exactly what Ben has because I don't want to spread his business out on over the airwaves. But he has the same thing Brendan had last week. So if you're a loyal listener of the show, you know that it's not just the flu. So anyway.
it's be safe. It's spreading. Be mindful. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, I think it's coming from me next. You guys got it.
It just seems like a matter of time.
Only one more Bourbon on a Budget host to get. Maybe after it gets me, it'll just end. Like maybe
you'll be the hero. You're our Will Smith. I am legend.
The virus is like, once we get TJ and Ben and Brendan, like we don't need anybody else. We got the big three. Rest in peace again. So anyway. Hey, we are back for another edition of Bourbon on a Budget. Appreciate you guys tuning in. This is going to be a quick episode. Ben's not here. We've got a couple of things we want to talk about, a couple of things we want to do, and then we're going to move on. We'll have a review. This will be a shorter episode. The review will be a little bit of a longer episode, so you'll kind of still get your hour of Brendan and I. Sorry that you don't get an hour of Ben this week. We'll have to make it up to you guys in another way, but thanks for hanging out. Thanks for tuning in with us. We have a good time with this, and we hope you guys enjoy it as well. Brendan, let's jump right into what we're doing today. Number one on the docket. Have you ever seen or gone to a store that was selling an allocated bottle or a tough to find bottle, and they had certain requirements around buying that bottle? Like you couldn't just buy the bottle. There was an extra step involved. Before we jump into it, like yes or no, have you ever had that situation arise?
A ton on some online liquor stores that I've purchased from before. I get emails probably like weekly about bundles is what they're often called. So I get that about once a week, and I always check to see if like, hey, is there a good value, a good deal with this? Often not, but as we're going to talk about here, you're probably almost always paying extra for something special in some roundabout way, one way or another. This is just a different way to do it.
Speaking of email, shout out Elliot in that email that he got the other day, where they advertised Russell's Reserve 13 in the subject line, and Elliot opens the email and it's like a Wild Turkey 101 and just a bunch of junk, that had no redeeming value at all, and they totally hook, line, and sinker.
Back in the day, they called that a bait and switch. Now, people nowadays they love to say clickbait. And to me, that's the true definition of clickbait: is you pulled someone who was something and it wasn't even close to what it was. It wasn't. That's what clickbait is to me.
You get a lot in your line of work. If you send a tweet that fans of a team that are of a rival team of the team you cover don't like your tweet, even if you don't have a link in that tweet, they call your tweet clickbait, don't they? Like that's my favorite thing. Like if you were to tweet a link that said why Florida State will beat Florida this year in very vague terms, and then that link opened up to be, well, if they score more points, they'll beat them, that would be clickbait. But if you just put out a tweet with no link that is just your take on something and they don't like it, they call that clickbait. But what Elliot got the other day was true clickbait.
Oh, it was the bait and switch.
Open our email. Right. So that you can buy Wild Turkey 101.
I'm not even going to say to be fair. Elliot did say, and shout out Elliot. He's a friend of both of ours, and he's been on the show before. Very knowledgeable, a huge Wild Turkey fan. Yeah, he was really interested in the Russell's Reserve 13 years. A lot of people are. That's why that specific website was using that as the headline to grab everyone's attention. He said they did at least mention it they did at least mention it in the email. However, it didn't seem like it was for sale in any way. Real quick tangent. Professionally, people will say something is clickbait because you want someone to click on your article. Well, yeah, that's the whole purpose of what we're doing here.
That's what Brendan gets paid for.
I mean, we want people to click on this podcast to listen to it. So, yeah, but what you want to do is be accurate with what the headline says and what the article says. But sometimes you want people to click on your work and get you paid. Like, sorry.
I will say, the very much to be fair, like I get that. Like I get that on all sides of sports and politics and even bourbon, it seems like in Elliot's case. Stuff is very clickbaity, and 100,000 people, uh, died of this, and it's like, oh well, that's like 100,000 people since like the dawn of time. Like once you actually click the article, like it just isn't as accurate or as shock intense as the title may have led you to believe. So yeah, I agree that a lot of that goes on, but poor Elliot thought he was going to get another Russell's, but he'll have to settle for the one that we sent him. So
all right, so bundles for you. Let's talk about bundles.
Okay, so a lot of times what you'll see is you'll see a store that gets an allocated product, and that store has gotten that allocated product by buying, and we'll just call it a spade a spade. Buffalo Trace makes people buy a whole ton of crap product, and I don't mean to call it crap, but product that most people don't care about, Wheatley vodka, in order to buy their allocated stuff. You have to have purchased so much Buffalo Trace, so much Wheatley vodka, so much of their baseline stuff to get access to the good stuff, right? Like the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, the Blantons, the Eagle Rare, the Weller, the this, that, and the other. And so what some stores will do is they will put those not so sought after products in a bundle with the highly sought after products. And so what ends up happening is you have, I don't know, not to say anything, intentionally, but you'll have a product like an Eagle Rare store pick that is very, very highly sought after, bundled with a Wheatley vodka and maybe a Buffalo Trace aged tequila and something else. And you have to buy those three different things together. And on a MSRP value, the value is fine, right? Like they're not overcharging. They're not charging more than what it's actually worth. But if you're only really into bourbon, how much does a Wheatley vodka or a tequila or something else benefit you? I can remember a few months ago buying and there are certain times that it will make sense, and there are certain times that it won't make sense. And in my case, I saw something recently. Not here to call names, not here to shout anybody out or call anybody out for something that I don't necessarily find valuable. But I saw a store pick of something that I wanted, and it was bundled with two other things that I didn't want. The price of the bundle was fair, MSRP wise. There was no problems with that at all. But there were two things that would have literally just sat in my cabinet and never been drank. And the price of the bundle was higher than the secondary value of the store pick. And so I'd rather just go on the secondary market and get the store pick for something I wanted. So the price of the bundle was $90. The secondary value is like $75. I'd rather just go on the secondary market and buy that for $75, save $15 and not have two bottles of worthless liquor. I don't need any more vodka or tequila. Yeah. Right. It's not worthless, but it's just tequila that I don't really want. So anyway, I've got more thoughts, but I'll let you kind of interject and talk a little bit about this or ask questions or whatever.
All right. So let's, okay. I got one point, and then I want to exercise and get your thoughts on something. So with the point I was going to say, you're always going to pay, not always, I should say, but there's often an upcharge that you're paying for something allocated or rare or popular at a given time. And you're just paying for it in a different way. Now, there's sometimes you walk into the store and pay $60 for a Stag Junior, which I've done twice, and you're giddy. You're happy. It's MSRP. It's fair value. That happens every so often. Feels like it's increasingly more rare today. My buddy just bought a Colonel E.H. Taylor for $70. Great bourbon for $45 to $50, but it is what it is at this point. But you're always paying for, like, so the bundle is one way that it's a marketing, I don't want to say ploy, but it's just a way of crafting something to get interest in a certain product while making money on the side for other whiskeys or bourbons or liquor from that same company. Because that's a lot of these liquor stores operate, right, dude, is you've got to, a lot of places push Wheatley vodka, for example, and you have to buy a certain amount of Wheatley vodka to have access to Buffalo Trace or other rare bourbons in the Buffalo Trace distilleries line. But, so the bundle is one way to go about doing that is you guarantee yourself, hey, we're selling 3 from this certain distillery. At the same time, ABC, which we love and we use their vault program quite often, like it's a roundabout bundle. You're getting to choose like, hey, I'm spending this much money on these bourbons to go ahead and have access to these really rare ones, but you're still paying an upcharge to get access to that Pappy Van Winkle or that George T. Stagg or that Larceny Barrel Proof, even something even less rare than those. And you're spending, $500 to $1,000 to have a chance at those. So you're always going about it this roundabout way. I guess for you, or you're just spending $1,000 on a rare one in general. You're spending that directly for that Pappy or something like that. For you, like, when does a bundle make sense? So I got a website that sent me a Heaven Hill Distillery bundle, and there's a few like intriguing bottles of stuff that I've been interested in and would like in my collection, and some that are rare. I don't know if I would pay for it. So for this Heaven Hill line, for example, dude, is $110 for a Larceny small batch, which is a entry level weeded solid for the price. We should review that one day, but $25 or so. Elijah Craig straight rye, which is about $30 to $35, and some until recently was not sold in Florida. Now it is. Probably considered a fairly decent rye for that money. And then Heaven Hill 7-year bottled and bond. Some people find that to be a rare one. Some people can find it regularly in some states. That's $110 for that trio. Like, would that be valuable in your estimation? Those are all bourbons. So those are all whiskeys.
Yeah, more valuable than including something outside of the realm of what I want. So I've got an answer for you, and then got a couple of examples that I've seen locally. None of this is like me making it up as to tell you like how it should be done. Things that I've experienced locally that I think are better alternatives than what I've seen. I will say this before I get into any of that. I bought a bundle not too many months ago that was a Michter's barrel strength rye, a Michter's regular bourbon, and 2 vodkas that I have no idea what they are. Like, I can't even remember what they are. The cost of the bundle was, I want to say $20 or $40 under the secondary price of the Michter's barrel strength rye.
So you came out ahead.
I flipped that Michter's barrel strength rye, made with shipping, I made $20. So let's just say I broke even. I got a Michter's bourbon. I basically got a Michter's bourbon and $20 out of the bundle. The two vodkas are still right. It was a little bit of work, right? Like I did have to put work into flipping it, but I have the 2 vodkas still sitting out of my garage. I couldn't tell you what they are. I thought about giving them away on the show. If you want those, DM the podcast, Bourbon on a Budget, or it's actually Budget Bourbon. But if you want those, I'll ship them to you. I don't care, or I'll have a carrier pigeon do it because you're not allowed to ship things. But I basically got paid $20 to have a Michter's bourbon, so I did that one, right? Like that one made sense because of the price. It was worth it. To go back to your question, some of them end up being worth, some of them not. That specific one you mentioned, I mean, I don't know. Probably I'd probably pass on that one because I don't really. I have a couple of the Elijah Craig ryes. I actually did one of them at an auction the other day on a secondary group. I did it for charity. I listed it at $80. Said that I was going to donate all the money to the raffle charity that we do every month, and so I just let one go. One of the ones you got me, I let it go for. It flipped for $80, but everybody was doing it because they knew it was charity. Yeah. So, the secondary market's not all bad people.
Oh, right? So I don't get any of that profit. Then all it goes just to charity.
I just went -30 for that. So I went -30 for charity, and the group went 50 for charity.
That seems like a personal problem. Well, and you come out negative on that deal, by the way, the Heaven Hill, Larceny, and Elijah Craig. Like you're paying.
No, it's not. I wouldn't do that one. Now,
you're not saving money by buying all 3 of those.
Here's a couple of local things that have happened that have made my not disgust, but my disapproval. Unapproval is not a word. My disapproval for the pack that I saw with the vodka, the tequila, and the Eagle Rare store pick. Very recently, some local stores in the Tampa Bay area have sold their store picks of Eagle Rare so low, like $45 to $50. Lucan's is one. Liquor Depot is one.
That's awesome.
There's another. Good. And so when the market has already gotten store picks of Eagle Rare at their MSRP, $45, $50, whatever you want to call that. I think it's tough and they all sold out like within a day or two. Like they were gone,
right?
Because
that's reasonable. That's a fair price for a coveted bourbon that you turn into a store pick. Yeah.
In some groups that I'm in, people are like, man, I'm shocked that those Eagle Rare bundles are still at the store they're at. Well, I'm not shocked. Like nobody wants to spend $90 on something that 2/3 of it is largely worthless. Like, I don't need that much vodka in my house or in my life. So anyway, I think that's one aspect of it is that the bundle came at a bad time where a lot of other Eagle Rare store picks had been released just kind of free and clear, no big deal. I've seen some bundles that are definitely worth it. I've seen bundles that are not worth it. If there's something you're hunting for or chasing after, that's kind of when I think a bundle could come into effect, come into being worth it. Something that Jimmy was on. Remember Jimmy from Gas Bars?
Yep.
What they do with their allocated bottles is if something is super, super allocated, let's start from the bottom. They had Sazerac Rye. It was before I was able to come into a good amount of Sazerac Rye. Wanted to grab some. I loved it at the bar I had it in Savannah. Wanted to get a baby Saz. To buy a baby Sazerac Rye at $35. Not a bad price at all. At retail, you had to buy one of their store picks.
Okay.
So I bought a store pick of theirs. It ended up being the Peerless Rye single barrel at $65. It's the best Peerless I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Yes, it was, and I was annoyed. It was Christmas Eve. We were going to our Christmas Eve service. I went in to grab the Sazerac. I ended up having to spend $100, but I ended up having like a fantastic store pick. It was the greatest, like, you have to buy this that I've ever experienced in my life. I liked that. I like that idea.
That's a great way to incentivize it. Really
if something is super allocated, you have to buy 2 or 3 store picks. Like if it's one of the really hard to get bottles, like the Blanton store pick or this, that, and the other things that people like trip over themselves to get, you have to buy more than one store pick. But I love the way that Jimmy does it. Last point, and then I'll answer your questions or take your comments or whatever you want to throw at me, insults, cuss words, whatever.
Oh, yes.
I saw a store in Georgia outside of Atlanta selling a Weller Full Proof. To buy that Weller Full Proof, you had to spend $100 on wine. And I thought that was that was just as bad as a bundle to me. I like the idea of you have to buy a store pick, but if I'm there to buy bourbon, I'm there to buy bourbon. Don't sell me on $100. Selling me on one of your store picks is in the same realm of what I like. If I'm not a wine drinker at all, I hate that. It's the same to me as telling me I have to buy vodka and tequila with my bourbon. I can't stand that idea. Now, if you're a wine guy, it's not so bad. And I know you like wine with some certain meals.
Yeah.
Italia. But I would much rather get my wine sourced and certified from ABC for that benefit, not just have to buy wine. Now, if you're a wine guy, that probably doesn't offend you as much. I did not like the idea of having to buy $100 of wine at a random liquor store. To me, it's the same exact as having to buy a Wheatley vodka as well.
I bet, I could be wrong on this. If you were to have gone up to the counter, if you're talking to the manager and say, hey, can I buy $100 of bourbon or of anything else? Like, I bet you they would have had some level of flexibility.
I don't know. There was a lot. I didn't go because, again, it was in Atlanta. I had a buddy up there that didn't end up going because I didn't want to make him spend $100 on wine to do it. But it seemed like that's what they put in the post was you have to buy $100 of the wine to do this. And so I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah.
But it didn't say $100 of any product. It's and it lasted a couple of days. Like it was not just like
strange. It's so weird because like one thing if you're trying to direct someone to a certain product, I get like the reasoning for it. We not agree with the. It may not be effective for me as a consumer, but I get it.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to, but just to move wine, like blanket statement wine, where you probably have thousands of different types of bottles in the store. That's odd. That's strange. I
didn't love that, and it annoyed me.
What if it was $100 of beer? Would you have done that? Because I know
that's even harder. You know,
I know you have to buy a lot of beer, but you're a craft. You used to be really into craft beer, to an extent. Like,
I mean, I could do that easier because I do keep a beer fridge out in the garage where I like to And I wish Ben was here because I'd love to hear his takes on this. Rest in peace. But no, I do keep a craft beer fridge, and I do keep some pretty standard like Mick Ultras and Busch Light Apple. I keep some of those in there. Oh, you make that face, but I'm going to bring you one Labor Day weekend. Everyone that I know makes that face, and then they try it, and they're like, "Oh, this was actually pretty good."
I'd rather get COVID again.
I hope you get COVID again. Since you said that.
Can we edit that out?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I'd rather just get canceled than you slander Busch Light Apple. So anyway, for beer, I mean, I still would love that idea because I'm going to buy that bottle. Not. I don't know. I like the store pick idea that Jimmy does at gas bars. Hats off to him. I'm not wearing a hat, but if I was, hats off, Jimmy. Right. Hats off, Jimmy.
I only have a pillow. Hats off.
So anyway, any other thoughts on store picks, bundles, anything of that nature?
I did my own bundle once without knowing it. I think when I told you guys before, I bought a George T. Stagg after we lost Rio, RIP Ben, and it was like $450, $500, and I was able to talk them down to I think like $350, $400. I can't remember the exact price at this point. It's a few years ago.
Not a bad deal.
No, for George T. Stagg, but I the first thing I saw in the store, and I knew George T. Stagg was back there, at least it was like 6 months previously, and I passed on it at the time. Tried hunting for it, couldn't find it. I said, okay, it's my best shot at getting it with doing due diligence. But I saw an Old Pulteney 12-year, which is a briny, salty, high-quality bang for your buck scotch that you can't find in Tallahassee for like $50, $40, nothing crazy. That was the first thing I picked up because I saw it when I walked in there. I said, oh, at the very least, I made this trek. I drove an hour and a half, and I'm going to come away with this. But I already had something. I think the store owner, seeing that you already had something and were interested in buying something else other than just running to the allocated bourbon in the back, gave me some like ability to leverage the deal and be like, oh, he's actually going to buy a couple things. That's good for us. He's not just looking to buy and flip something. He's actually going to buy something. So that was my own variety of a bundle. So there's value to it in some aspects for sure. It's just tough when it's so rigid, or the rules are rigid and you have to do it this way, instead of like mixing and matching and taking your own, like to say, oh, can I buy $100 of bourbon instead of $100 of wine? Like, who really cares at that point? So yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I understand where stores, I understand how tough it is for stores that have to buy a bunch of stuff that they don't care about either. And it sucks, but don't be surprised when people maybe don't rush out to grab what you think is a highly sought after bottle because there are strings attached, right? Like if you had to buy a house and they told you that you also had to assume the loan for solar panels, would you necessarally rush into buying that house? Maybe, maybe not.
Sounds like a personal problem and need to work through some stuff in therapy.
Couldn't be me. So, all right. We are going to jump into one more thing and then get into pursuits and purchases. We have Brendan was not around to review this. Brendan had the COVID.
I was around. I just couldn't smell or taste it.
Correct.
Anything.
So now Brendan is going to get to review Liquor Depot's Light Whisky. Hey, Liquor Depot is getting 2 shout outs from us. We love you guys over there. So shout out Liquor Depot. Light Whisky. Ben and I rated this very highly. You're going to get your chance to go and add to it. You've got it's going to be tough for you because it's going to be with some preconceived scores coming in.
I just pulled up the spreadsheet you put in for every single category where I was supposed to rate Corona.
Yeah, I can't spell it. Corana.
I'm going to remove myself from that spreadsheet, 1, because I'm offended and hurt, and 2, I don't want that infiltrating my brain right here.
Okay, so talk me through the nose on this thing, because oh my gosh, I love this nose. I'm pouring more of it. Just don't tell my wife. She doesn't listen to these things. Dude, I'm telling you.
So the Light Whisky, so it's 140 proof. Like this is this could like legitimately, you can't bring it on an airplane because it could explode.
Yeah, it's 140.1.
So it's not like the name
140.4. Yeah, no, sorry.
So the name Light Whisky is a little misleading on this. Just smelling it hurts my nose a little bit.
Really?
It
smells like. Oh my gosh!
I get graham cracker.
Yeah,
which is pleasant. That. A little bit of woody and vanilla. common, standard. But here's where it's different and where it's unique. And so a light whiskey for the listeners / viewers is there's a few different qualifications, but one is it's in a used oak barrel instead of a new virgin oak, which is a requisite for bourbon. So that actually kind of softens some of the like flavor profiles a little bit when you take away that new woodiness and you kind of strip it down with alcohol. So that's what most scotches are finished in. Michter's American unblended whiskey is an awesome whiskey that basically is just bourbon with a used cask, but much lower proof, 90 compared to 140. But with this, I'm almost getting, if I'm crazy, let me know, but like a stone fruit, like peachy, like peach and oranges. And it's just, there's this zesty quality fruitiness that isn't apple or cherry to me. It's a different type of fruitiness that I'm picking up on this.
So, okay, I'm getting that now that you're talking about it, but I think it's somewhat similar. It's somewhat open to interpretation. I'm almost getting like a banana custard, like almost like a soft, like because it's so soft, like a very vanilla, soft. But like peach is a soft.
I thought you were going to say soft banana. Damn it.
No, I'm not that. This is not my first podcast.
It is
like a softer fruit.
Yeah, approachable for 140.
So yeah, I get
I can get the banana.
Custardy, like a custard. Like I think that's fair, whether you want to call it a peach custard, or a banana or whatever.
Well, it falls in with the vanilla and the fruitiness. I can see it's almost like an older banana,
it's soft,
like a mushy banana, like a ripe brown banana, which actually smells pretty good.
Yeah. You just don't want to eat that, but
you want that for a smoothie, is what you want that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, so the nose is good. It's unique. It is. I'm pleasantly surprised by the nose. I like it. Should I score it as I go along, or should I do it like how we would do a review? And
let's do like you do a review. Go ahead and taste it. Let's go back to the nose later. Boy, it is a lot. It's a lot on the taste.
Smacks you in the face.
That, man, I don't know but I love the taste. I know that does nothing for our listeners. Go back and listen to my review of it. I'm not here to give you notes, but I know it smacks you, and it takes some warming up too. But you drank some 110 stuff beforehand, so hopefully that kind of gets you in the mood. If not, I'll get you in the mood.
Whoa, hey, PG-13 show, please. I'm trying not to cough because that comes in hot. The custardiness of it, if that's not a word, custardiness that you got on the nose. That's there. It is so dense and vibrant, but still delicate at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
This is really interesting. This is one of the most unique whiskeys I've had in a while. I will give it a lot of credit for that. Super vanilla, super custardy, banana, a little bit of oakiness. Chocolate.
Ben, do you want to hear what Ben said a little bit or no?
Yeah, I do. Since he's dead, I would love to hear from him from that afterlife. Yes, that would be amazing. RIP. Also, again, can't post this if he actually dies.
Yeah, if you heard that joke, he's alive. Ben is. Ben's the front wheel of a. What's that thing called?
Oh, you're too drunk to remember when you said it earlier when we recorded. The thing that Mike Norvell has for the recruits.
The slingshot.
Slingshot.
Front wheel of a slingshot. And Brendan and I are just like the back wheel, just following along with Ben.
TJ keeps it on track. I more am just there to take a
support
beating, basically.
Support,
I'm there to make everyone else look better. Ben's the heart and the soul. Yeah.
Ben described the heart and the soul. Ben described this as having some egg characteristics.
Oh, the egg custardiness. I see that now. I made fun of him initially for that because just saying eggy sounds, but because
you think about scrambled eggs and salt and cheese and hot sauce, you just don't think about the right things with that, Well, dude. The eggy characteristic. I love the mouthfeel.
Mouthfeel.
It's so good. Joe, yeah, I know you're listening to this. I need to send you a sample of this because it's fantastic. Maybe I already did. I don't know.
It reminds me of, okay, I got it. Here we go. I'm taking Ben's weird egg metaphor, the vanilla custardiness, spicy oak. It is French toast batter. When you throw it onto the skillet right away, you got the egg, you got the vanilla in there, You got
the cream.
nutmeg.
Oh my gosh.
The nutmeg, the cinnamon, maybe a little salt if that's how you're doing it. But you got all these flavors kind of melding together with the breadiness, and they're all there. And then with the butter right there, that's what it is. It hits you. The way that smells,
I love
is
it.
the way it tastes. Boom,
the butter, the butter thickness, the viscosity, the mouthfeel again is it's thick, but it is light. It's light on the palate for as much of a pack. It's the most light, heavy thing I've ever had in my life. Like
you have to get used to the proof at first, and this is not for someone who's new, or I would even say intermediate. Ben, an intermediate is not a veteran whiskey drinker. I got screwed over last week, big time. But once you adjust to it, then you start being able to pick out some of those unique flavors.
Yeah.
All right. It's funny, man. Like, so we've had this peel behind the curtain. We did the Maker's Mark review first, and I smelled that first. I drank it first. I went back to this, and I was like, I don't know about it. It was really rough around the edges. But now that I've gotten into it a little bit, maybe it's just the alcohol talking. That's possible. But there is some complexity and nuance to this that is not common in other whiskeys, and I am tickled by it.
Yeah. Okay, tell me about the finish, and I'll let you rate it, and then we'll go pursuits and purchases and we'll get out of here. I love this whiskey, by the way. This is
so I was not going to use okay. Sorry, Trey. It's a weird way to find that out, probably. I really liked and find value in the nose and the taste. I was not going to use the word love until we got to the finish. We will talk about future callback, how sometimes it's tough to find an exquisite finish. Oftentimes it's kind of middle of the road and tough to distinguish between a bad one, a flat one versus an amazing one. This finish is so creamy, but also depthy with the spice, the oakiness, the alcohol flavor. This is a great finish. This might be one of the best finishes I've experienced since we started doing the show, to be honest. That jumped out to me maybe more than anything else. Yeah,
the finish is exquisite. It holds on there for that hug. It wraps you up as a bear hug almost. Like it's almost like a creme brulee because you get that custardy, but then like maybe you have a creme brulee and they put some raspberry garnish on it, and that's kind of how you get some of that fruit in it. Not that I'm comparing it to raspberry
or something like that too, like a mocha. Oh man, there's a lot. Damn. Yeah, and I can see the toasty cream. The finish is. The finish will be perfect for me. This is one of the best finishes there is.
Yeah. Okay. Let's let you rate it. Man, I want to re-rate it, but we gave this good scores. I'll tell you what we gave it in just a minute. But I just saw something on this that you're not going to love. But all right, you all the way through. So nose 2 points, taste 4, finish 1, cohesive, complex 1, value 2. Nose, where you at?
All right, the nose to me is really good, really interesting. It may be the least impressive of all three aspects we've talked about so far, but that's also going to say that the taste and the finish are going to be pretty high for me. Above average. I don't know if I'm going to say it's elite. I'm not going to say if it's a great nose. It's a very good one. I'm going to go 1.25 for it. It's a little harsh at first, takes some getting used to, but a very good nose, 1.25.
Finish up nose, taste. What out of 4 points? You get 4 points for the taste.
Mm-hmm.
We rated this taste highly. I hope you aren't too light on your rating here.
I don't get it.
You get it.
So after you fight through some of the R.I.P. Ben. After you fight through some of the proof, which is something that you have to adjust to a little bit, right? Like the graham crackeriness on the nose that I liked. Does show up somewhat in the flavor profile. Vanilla, a rich custardy taste for sure. Did you spill on yourself, TJ?
A little bit, but it'll be all right.
Oh my god. I was just trying to figure whether we should do a peek behind the curtain of like the internet dropping and this being this like second. Like
we're recording this like hours later. You know, like if anybody's watching it, they can tell. You're listening. You have no clue that between the nose and the taste of this review, it's about 3 hours, about 2 hours difference. So.
And my bedtime is usually like 8:30 p.m. It's 9 o'clock, and I am dragging right now. But no, so the flavor is.
Thanks for calling me out.
I mean, just don't spill stuff when I'm talking, and I won't have. That's my problem, honestly. I like to lean into mistakes. I think that's the key. Lush. But no, it's a good flavor profile. I gave it a 3 out of 4. I think that's low on what you guys had, but I did like it. It was certainly above average. It was complex. It's interesting. Just and the mouth feel, like the whole experience is very nice. It's just it's a little hot in some places, a little like discombobulated, like not super smooth and effortless, but good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's just not perfect.
I think if this is something you can't start the night with this, right? Like you have to warm up to it. You have to really kind of get up there. If you could start with like a 1920 that's 115 proof, and then maybe go to something that's a little higher, and then come to this, I think that you kind of arrive at it. Just hitting this sober and no alcohol in you and no burn in you at all, like it would be really tough. I also think the power of suggestion is really real. Like you rated this a 3 on your own. Ben gave this a 3.5, and I kind of wanted to step down a little bit from him and go 3.25. I think if you would have rated this with us, you may have said the same thing Ben did. You may have kind of come down a little bit off of Ben's and been at that 3.25, but we're all kind of in the same range. But
I mean, even with that break, dude, like I knew that you guys loved it. So I think like that also probably bumped it up a little bit, if I'm being honest. Like I had that, like knowing that I was looking for quality, knowing there was a baseline of competency to this, I think it helped it going into it. Yeah.
It can go both ways for sure. Okay.
Sorry.
I can't make a joke there. Finish. Ben rated this kind of low. I was high on it. If you listen to the review on Thursday, I got some issues with the way we finish. We give finish ratings. So tell me about what you gave this.
You mentioned loved earlier, TJ. I loved the finish on this. I thought it was by far the best part, and I've rated other parts of this dram pretty high. Oh, I said dram. I think it's the first time I've said dram on this podcast. How douchey of me. But it was really, really, really good. It was rich. It was spicy. It had like a nice burn at the end, but then kind of like mellowly, like gradually went away. It was like about like 5-6 seconds of a finish. Had some of that vanilla at the end, some barrel spice, some cinnamon, a little bit. So it was a really good finish, man. I gave it a 1. I think it's as good of a finish as you're going to find. It is like 90th percentile of finishes out there. It was excellent. Dare I say elite finish.
So if you add mine and Ben's scores together on the finish, it comes up with a 1. How did Ben give this a 0.25?
I'll have to go back and listen to what his gripe was.
Oh, I'm sure he said it falls flat. Like that's what he says about every single one.
True. But it doesn't.
It's good. It is very good. I give it a 0.75.
Yeah, for you guys to differentiate, I know it's only ends up being half a point with what you differentiated with, but when we're only giving out 1 point, like that's pretty significant that you guys were that far. You're like 2 tiers apart on that. It's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And also it completely refutes my last point of being on air together. Makes you have similar scores as Ben and I were
immediately
obviously the only two doing this, and my score tripled his. So, all right. So you gave that a 1. Cohesiveness and complexity, you get a point here. Where's that fall for you?
It is super duper complex. There is a ton going on. We mentioned kind of like the fruitiness of the nose, but it wasn't like red apple or cherry, those traditional bourbon notes. No, it was peach. It was orange. And then you had the vanilla, the wood, the oakiness as well. But it was a very interesting nose. But that fruit-like vibe on the nose did not go into the flavor at all. Instead, you got that custardy, a little bit of the banana we talked about, and some toastiness, but very different than the stone fruits that were kind of more the tropical fruits that were on the nose to me. So I contemplated giving it a 0.75, TJ, because it was so, even though it wasn't really cohesive, it was so complex and interesting. But like between the nose, the palate, and then the finish, like it was all kind of disjointed, discombobulated. And so I couldn't quite find myself giving it points in that category. 0.5.
So 0.5 for you. We went 0.5 across the board here. And I think if I had to do it over again, which I'm not changing my score for the first time, I think I would have given this a 0.75 because I did get a lot of that banana egg custard type through a lot of it. And so I would have given it, I think, the 0.25 on cohesiveness. It definitely gets the 0.5 on complexity. So I think I'd have given this a 0.75 if I had to do all over again, which would have bumped my score up a little bit, but I didn't. So that's what it is. Okay, so going into the value score, you have scored this pretty high, a 6 out of 8, which is really, really good. Most things do not get that high. It is very rare.
5.75 for me. Sorry, sir. You're at 6. You were at 6. You're looking at the wrong column. Row.
So
it's still close though, right? Unless my math is wrong, which is
no. You're right. 5.75 out of.
I didn't want to call you out. I just wanted to be 6. Accurate.
Yeah, I want to be accurate too. So very good. 5.75, which is exactly where Ben had it going into value. I had it a 6 out of 8. Ben had it a 5.75 out of 8 as well. Value, this is a $60 bottle.
Okay.
140 proof store pick. You'll never get this bottle exactly again, but you could get other light whiskeys at a similar proof single barrel. You could get other things similar, like this one is not going out. And I think that's kind of what Ben and I's reasoning for our values was. If you're rating this one specifically, obviously you'll never get it again. If you're just kind of rating any light whiskey single barrel store pick, possible to get more. So you get 2 points for value. You gave this just under a 6 out of 8, 5.75. Where are you at on the value?
So I think it's priced fairly. So I'm going to give it a 1 out of 2, which is low. You and Ben both went with 1.5. My rationale here is I think it's priced fairly. It's a store pick. It is unique, as you said. $60 is not cheap. That's on the high end for bourbon, for whiskey. And looking back at some other scores that were right above this, I gave a store pick for Russell's Reserve single barrel a 1 out of value when I had a 5.75 score going into it. Almost the exact same price. Eagle Rare, we had a 1.5 on value, and I went into it with a 5.5. Similar score for me. Eagle Rare, also hard to find in a different sort of way, but normally priced significantly less. Not always, but usually less than $60 when you can find it, but you can't always find this one either. So I want to be consistent, I guess, with where I was with it, but it's certainly a nice whiskey, and a 1 to me out of 2 would say, like, yeah, that's worth the price of admission for this. And I think it is. It's very unique. Drinks remarkably complex and smooth at its proof. Doesn't really beat you up too much. It's good, man. It's really good. I'm happy I tried it. It's a whole new world of trying light whiskey. I'm happy we got into it. I'm happy I was able to sample it and smell it finally.
Do you have more? I've got some complaints, but do you have more? Or are you kind of like out? Like, how much more do you have? Do you want more? Do you miss
a little bit? But I like to save. I'd like to.
A little bit goes a long way on that one.
With this, that's true.
Well, and that's what I was gonna ode to Ben. You dingus, which he always says. I would have given if I was you, I'd have given this another quarter point because the proof factors in. You're not getting. You talked about the Russell's Reserve store pick. You're getting what, 25 more proof here? What was that? 100, 105, 110 maybe.
The store pick is 1. Oh God,
10 maybe. I don't know, but anyway, I think you're getting a little more proof here, so it's a little more valuable. Not, you're getting more alcohol per. So anyway, but 1's fine. Bringing our total value. I'm just a homer on this because I love it. Our total on this: Ben with a 7.25, myself with a 7.5, Brendan with a 6.25. Composite
7.5. I'm not crushing it. 6.75.
6.75.
Sweet Jesus.
Maybe I was saying it too quickly.
That's
7.25 for Ben, 7.5 for me, 6.75 for Brendan.
Good night, sweet whore. Good bed.
Bringing our composite to 7. We kept this thing on the rails until the very end. Until the internet went out and I kept drinking. Bring our composite to 7.16 repeating. So we'll call it 7.2. We'll even round up for you. So does that make the big board? What's the lowest on the big board?
Just misses it. Oh, you can't see, there's a bunch of whiskeys there. High West Double Rye is the low on number 5 at 7.3. So just misses it.
So and it was a round up, just miss it. Like I gave it like 0.4 or 0.3 and a half on a round up. So
It's good.
Well,
It's really good. It was not what
Yeah.
I thought was going to be something that I was going to enjoy going into it, and I found a lot to like about it. Very unique.
When Ben first said the egg thing, like I know you were like, this is weird because you think about like a fried egg with like a mayonnaise sandwich or something. You know, you're like, this is disgusting. But you can get it. Like it's really good. I will say the first person to DM the pod account and ask for a sample of it, Instagram or Twitter. First person to ask for a sample of Light Whisky, I'll send you a sample. Twitter, I'll give you two. I'll give you 1 ounce each. One on Instagram, one on Twitter.
Whoa.
First person to DM us on both. I'll mail you a sample of it. Hopefully you enjoy it. Okay, pursuits and purchases, and let's get out of here. Do you have anything you'd like to talk about pursuing or purchasing?
I am not pursuing nor purchasing anything at the moment. I declined. My buddy was going and doing some hunting, and he found a bunch of stuff that was way overpriced, and the clerk was like, "Yeah, I'll haggle with you," but it was a little bit too much to haggle with for. So I have nothing, but a little birdie tells me that you, sir, have a long pursuit fulfilled.
I do. I'll just go ahead and spill the beans. I have a Bland's Red, a Takara Red from Japan.
Beautiful box.
Beautiful garnet FSU themed garnet and gold box. So to go along with what we do, as a hobby for this, our main job, bottle of Bland's Takara Red. You can see right there at the top, you can see the words that I can't pronounce there, or the symbols or letters or whatever there. The date here is something that is very special and dear to my heart. 6/16/20. Do you know what that date represents, Brendan? Nope, not Pearl Harbor. It is my son's birthday. Remember when we stormed the Alamo? Well, that has nothing to do with this. It is Brian's birthday. I now have a bottle. Elena's birthday was on a Saturday, so I don't have that. I now have a bottle with Brian's birthday and Elena's due date, which was the first day they dumped Blanton's after her birth. She was born on a Saturday. Her due date was on the Monday, and that's the date that I have, 8/27.
You are referring to your children, correct? Elena?
No, just two random people that I know.
Just making sure that the audience.
So now I have both of my kids' birthday and due date. I am thrilled.
That's awesome. You were looking for that. Like that's something that you were talking about that from one of the earlier episodes was fun. How did you find it? How did you go about procuring it without giving too much away, I guess?
I don't mind. So there's a group on Facebook called Warehouse H, which is the warehouse that all the Blantons is stored in. And so if you join the Facebook group Warehouse H, it's all kind of underground because Facebook doesn't want sales happening and stuff. But a lot of people post ISO a certain date. And so I had posted the ISO of
in search of.
Yep. ISO this date, ISO that date, my kids' birthdays, my anniversary, my birthday, my wife's birthday, Ben's birthday, just different things that I'm looking for different people. And a guy messaged me and said, "Hey, I have a 6/16/20. I saw you were looking for that." So in the group, don't go in the group and do any sales in the group. You say what dates you want. If you see something you like, you just put PM or personal message. Conduct all the business offline. So a guy that's on a military base in Japan ended up sending me that. He sent it for like $15 because it was first class mail, just USPS from the base there. So it wasn't a lot of, I paid secondary for it. But again, I paid secondary for it with the intention of opening it in 20 years, right? When my son turns 21. So I was super excited about it. I forgot to tell my wife about it because we were going out of town that morning. So I got it, and she was like, "Hey, what were all those Kit Kats from Japan on the counter from?" So he put in some like Japanese Kit Kats.
That's cool.
Yeah, like I'm gonna review those. Yeah, I'm gonna review those on the podcast.
Can you send him like some samples, or is that gonna be tough with the military base overseas? It might be some.
It actually might not be that bad, but yeah, I don't know. I might wait till he's back in the States. But yeah, I wouldn't mind sending him a sample or two just to kind of like say thanks. But yeah, really cool pursuit and purchase that I was glad that I was able to kind of fulfill and
that's awesome.
Get done. So
congratulations. Hey, real quick, can we rewind on something? How do you think the Alamo went down? You said we stormed the Alamo. I don't think that's correct.
Sorry, I was just mixing a bunch of historical events trying to be funny. No, we defended the Alamo. I know
Davy Crockett was swinging old Betsy. I watched that Disney movie when I was a kid. And
he was
later-
swinging Betsy Ross around like nobody's business. I'm mixing stuff up at this point.
Again, yes. All right.
Then
I think
then he shot Hitler and everything was good. So anyway, that sounds like a Tarantino movie that we just put together.
Oh, he did. You're welcome, Quentin.
I'm gonna be pissed if in like 6 months you hear like he combines like 4 historical events and makes a movie, and you and I are still sitting here drinking bourbon with Ben. Hopefully with Ben. Rest in peace.
Yeah, this podcast is kind of Tarantino-esque. Like we record one, then we record another, and then we're recording out of order, like in different episodes, and none of it really makes sense. And then I'm like, Royale with cheese, and everyone's happy.
Say what again? All right. Check out our review on Thursday coming out this week. This was a little bit shorter episode. I really don't know if it was or not after we've taken breaks and done everything else, but we've got a long review on Thursday of Maker's Mark FAE, the 2021 limited release. Mm-hmm. We also taste the cannoli. From, I'm trying to do so people can see it. Cannoli from Lukens and Davidoff. The lighting was a little bit messed up, but follow us on social media, Bourbon on a Budget. We appreciate you guys' support, interaction. We're like a couple followers away from 1,000 on Twitter. We're almost to 100 subs on YouTube. Somebody on Brendan's freaking board that there's like 10 billion people on. Follow us on YouTube. You don't have to watch anything. Just hit subscribe.
You post it. I won't. I'll pretend I don't see it.
Will Chris or Josh delete it, or they won't care?
They delete it. Whatever. I'll just do it again, and I'll let it stay.
I'll post it again. Yeah, let's go.
I'll pretend I never see it.
For TJ Pittenger, resting in peace, Ben Cock, and Brendan Sinone, this is Bourbon on a Budget. Cheers.